In Blitz, most games are decided by tactics, but most players think calculation is something only advanced players can do. That's simply not true. In this video, I'll show you 6 simple techniques that I use as a grandmaster and that you can apply immediately in your own games. In this first example, black is attacking white's pawn on b2, and how do you play here as white? Now, most players would see the threat and would maybe push the pawn forward, which is what happened in the game, or maybe would guard it with a rook, or maybe some would start calculating something like this, trying to also counterattack the queen and guard this pawn, and then would try to calculate what's going to happen next. But our goal is not to complicate matters. It is not to calculate all these lines and trying to understand what's going on. It is actually the opposite. Our goal is to make it as easy as possible, which brings us to the rule number 1, the forward rule. Weak players look at their pieces and ask where can they move them. Strong players look at opponent's side of the board and ask themselves, how can I terrorize my opponent? Meaning, go to his territory and make some threats. Now, if you flip the script and now you focus your attention on black's side of the board, can you go there and make a threat? There is a move bishop b5 check. That way, you both cover up your own pawn on b2. Black has no time or ability to capture it. Your bishop is guarded. And on top of that, you're now creating troubles for black. Now the king has to move, it's going to stay centralized, making it easy for you to attack it later. Back to the actual game, white played b3 and black attacked this time this knight on c3. In reply to that, white came up with a brilliant move, knight takes d5, opening up this discovered attack of the queen. Which brings us to the rule number 2, calculate for both sides. And it's more of a psychological shift, and it's the exact thing that causes most of the mistakes that players make, because this brilliant move turned out to be a blunder after, instead of recapturing with a pawn and losing the queen, black instead just used the queen to capture this knight, and now it turned out that white just gave up a knight for no reason. On the next turn, white castled, perhaps overlooking that their rook on a1 was hanging. Again, not really thinking that much for their opponent, and after this recapture, now black's rook is hanging, black covered the diagonal, and what did white play here? Pawn c4, attacking the queen, basically pushing it to grab this undefended bishop on d2. And again, white just failed to think for their opponent. Notice that white is not a weak player. He's rated over 900, and later he actually played some really brilliant moves and even won this game. But so far you can see that he keeps blundering pieces one after another just because he's lacking this ability to calculate for both sides. In this next example, it is black to play, and how would you play here as black? Well, there are a few ideas that are fairly obvious. This knight on d6 is very active, it's attacking you, and maybe black wish to just go ahead and capture it. A decent move, right? What else can be here? Some players would probably be attracted to move the knight here with a fork to the queen and rook. Looks good, isn't it? But here's the rule. Before you even begin calculating variations, you gotta count material first. You gotta understand the overall situation. What is even going on here? And if we count material right here, you can see that white is simply up a queen, which is a huge material advantage. And it means that going here or here isn't gonna change the situation drastically. White would still be up a queen and still winning the game. Therefore, if you really want to turn the tables, you gotta find something very powerful. And at least you should be on the lookout of such opportunities. And luckily for black here, they've got a really strong move, knight g3 check, uncovering the white king, which leads to this quick checkmate. By the way, if you want to see how these ideas fit into one practical system, I've prepared a free masterclass. It breaks down the exact thinking process strong players use. The link is in the description, and now back to calculation. In this next example, black goes bishop g4, and here 86% of white players failed to find the right move for white. Can you? Alright, so here most players would just cover their queen with a pawn or with a knight. But there is a much better move, bishop takes f6. The issue here is, yes, it's a counterattack, but that leads to huge complications. There are plenty of moves that black can possibly choose here, and the line keeps going on, you have to visualize all that, right? That sounds like a very unappealing task, which requires a lot of brain power. So how to make things simple? Here's how I do it. Even though I'm a grandmaster, I'm not trying to just calculate and visualize. No, I'm trying to keep it simple and just evaluate the material count at every turn, not at the end. All right, so here, once I capture this knight on f6, I know that right now I'm up a knight. I'm up material, right? Then the next trick is, if there's an equal exchange, you don't even have to take it into account. For example, here, if black captures a bishop and white captures a bishop, that's bishop for a bishop, that's an equal trade, therefore I do not even have to take that into account. and therefore I would still be up a knight. You see, with no visualization of the final position and trying to count the material there, I would know that in this line, I'm winning because I'm up a piece. Alright, now let's take it back. Let's try to say that black will capture the queen. Does that make things really complicated? Not really, because again, it's a queen for a queen, right? Nothing changes. So again, after that, I would still be up a piece. And after that, let's say here, we don't need to visualize that. We already, can't just play this move. Oh, it's because bishop takes d1 comes first. And now bishop takes d1. All right, now I'm up a piece, hopefully at least in this case. And on the next turn, you can see that if black captures the bishop, then I capture the bishop, it's again the same stuff. Right? So I would still be up a piece in the final position without the need to visualize anything really. Next up, I want to mention that concept of forcing moves, and you might have heard about it, but I think that it's very important to understand the why behind the concept. Here it was white to move, and the queen on h3 is hanging, it's attacked by the rook. Now imagine you just play some move by the queen. Let's say you move it somewhere here. What can black play here? And the answer is whatever. Right? You can capture here, play b4, develop, or anything else. And it's very hard to think about all that. Very easy to blunder something. Now compare that to a forcing move, which are checks, captures, and threats. Let's say a capture on c8. What can black do in that case? The only thing black can do is to recapture the queen back. That's the only move black can possibly play here. And now it's way easier for me to calculate that. And also, I cannot blunder anything because I already know which move my opponent will play next. So the rule is look for forcing moves. And now there is also a particular hierarchy of forcing move because the most forcing move is a check. In that case, your opponent has nothing else to do but to deal with the check, right? Secondary, captures, and lastly, threats. And therefore, you wish to think in the same order. So here, you're thinking about checks first. What are the checks that you have available? And, for example, I've got queen e6 check, would be really nice actually to pull it off, but right now I can't because black will simply take it and I achieve nothing. Anyway, it's worth thinking about every possible check for at least a few seconds because sometimes you can find something nice. So similarly, I've got queen takes h8. And yeah, that's a queen sacrifice, black would just recapture, and then I don't really see much after that. Is there any other check? There's also rook d8, also looks bad because black can simply capture it. But in that case, wait a second, I've got actually a follow-up, right? So that would deflect the queen, and now queen to e6 would be that check that we wished to deliver a move earlier, but we couldn't because there was his queen there. But not anymore, and now that leads to a checkmate. But what if instead black captures the rook with their bishop? What do you do here? Again, you gotta be on the lookout for checks. We wish to calculate till the end of the forcing line, till the position where we have no more checks or captures. And here, do we have any other checks? We've got this sacrifice, and it makes some sense because if king takes, I can capture right here with yet another check and the attack goes on. But the final one, queen takes h8, seems even better because now we keep the king locked in the cage, and that leads to this absolutely stunning checkmate. In this position, it is white to move, and hopefully by now you can already see how just knowing a few ideas can put you ahead of the crowd, because most people would look at this position and would think that it's just extremely complicated and they have no idea what the best move here is. But now you already have some guidelines. Now first, let's just evaluate the material count, as we talked about it before, that before we even dive into calculation, you gotta try to understand what is even going on here. Now the material count is equal, both sides have a queen and a rook and 3 pawns. Now how about the rest? We see that the king is a little bit exposed, even though there is no easy way to take advantage of that. We can't go here, black will just capture. Alright, also both sides have these very advanced passed pawns. This pawn is very close to the square of promotion, even though black blockaded it. Black similarly has a passed pawn of his own, and white needs to be really careful about that, otherwise the pawn is going to be promoted right on the next move. By the way, what do you think about a move like that? Is that a good move? I mean, it makes sense, it blockades the pawn, but we know that we gotta check forcing moves first, right? And this one is a passive move, it's not a forcing move. Now black can do whatever he wants, for instance, capture a pawn and hit her queen, right? So that's not the first move that we consider. We want to look at the forcing moves. Now, the other move, which I'm pretty sure a lot of players would be thinking about, is something like, let me go here and then somewhere here, you know, and just it seems like we're about to checkmate black. But let's recall the other rule we talked about. we gotta think for both sides, calculate for both sides. Your opponent won't be just sitting there and looking at you. I mean, maybe for some people it can work out, but for most of us, it's not an option. And black will just probably capture this pawn and that's it. Back to the right way of thinking, let's look at the most forcing move, which is a check. What are the options we have here? Then we could potentially try to check from this angle, but black covers that. So if we go here, black would simply capture and we achieve nothing. All right, potentially we could try to play rook f8 check. That would also be really nice, but unfortunately for us, black would capture it. And if we recapture, black captures with a king, and now we are just down a pawn. We lost this powerful pawn on e7. Therefore, that is also not an option. Okay, is there anything else? We also can deliver checks along this diagonal, and of course it looks bad because black can simply capture it, but again, for just a few seconds, we'll look at all these options. And if we play queen of h8, that actually might be a little bit interesting because that distracts the king, and now rook f8 becomes like an option, and if black captures it, that actually would be really great for us because we would recapture, promote to a queen, and checkmate black. But let's not forget that we gotta calculate for both sides. Black does not have to be cooperative, he doesn't have to take, he can just move the king away, and we would be down a queen for nothing. Even though the last line did not work for us, we were so close, we almost checkmated black, at least in one of those sub-variations. And sometimes in positions like that, when you see that opponent's king is exposed, and it feels like victory is potentially close, it makes sense to do the last trick, to reorder moves. Now, we started from queen to h8, and we also considered rook to f8 before, but what if we mix the order of moves? What if we start by rook to f8, but here, instead of recapturing, we then continue with queen to h8? You see, we just reordered these two moves, and now the situation is much better for us. Now black cannot simply escape, because we would capture the rook and promote a new queen, and if black accepts the sacrifice, that would lead to that checkmate that we were trying to achieve. Queen goes, and it's a checkmate. If you want to see how all of this builds into one practical system so that you know what to focus on and in what order, I've prepared a free masterclass, the link is below, and if you want to know how to build middle game plans easily, you may like to watch this video next.